Wait, pwede po nagagana yung mic. Pag nag-share screen. So, good evening, everyone. I am your teacher for today. I'm Demilyn Estayo, but you can call me Ma'am Dayan. So, let's start.
Before we proceed to our next lesson, let's make a classroom rules for us to become comfortable in each other. So for number 1 rule, ask question. For number 2, respect and listen to your classmates. For number 3, respect and listen to your teacher. And for number 4, raise your hand to speak. And the last is, be prepared for class. Before that, I have some question, and it is, what is communication? So, Miss Abarca, can you define what is communication? Okay, that's correct. So, I give some information about communication. So, it is the meaning of communication. Communication is an act of transferring information from one person to another. It is very crucial for us to enable to communicate in a simple way of disseminating an idea. Understood, class? Okay, let's proceed. I have here some question and try to answer because it is connected to our next topic. So for number 1, read and answer. Yes, Mr. Julian. Okay, for number 1, it should be C. How about number 2, Miss Abarca? Okay, it is also correct, EE. For number 3, Mr. Hobilo. Okay, it should be letter M. And for number 5, number 4 rather, yes, Miss Reyes, SI. Okay, that's correct. And for class number, Miss Latigay. Okay, it's also correct, ID. And for now, I do not give explanation why it is a control, emotional expression, motivation, social interaction, and also information dissemination. Maybe later. So here's the next question. The next question is, have you ever tried to motivate someone? How do you how do you control others, and how do you deal in a different situation? Yes, Miss Lanzaderas. Can you give your answer? Okay, that's correct. And for me, as a teacher, I would say yes, I try to motivate someone by giving him or her an advice. Like for example, my friend said that why I let him go. And I say to her that not all things stay forever, but we can do our best just to stay them longer. And how does it connected to motivation? So we motivate someone with realization for them to cope up to their problem and also for them to feel comfortable. The next is, how do we control others? Yes, Mr. Pardo? Okay, that's correct. We control others with manners and ethics for us to avoid misunderstanding. And for the last, how about you, Miss Reyes? How do you deal with a different situation? Okay, thank you. That's correct. We all know we have different way to deal in some situation, but always remember, class, to control yourself and also see the consequences that may happen before you do an action. So let's move on. I have here a video clip about function of communication. So let's assume that the students are watching the video. So after watching the video, let's answer the following question. Yes, for number 1, Miss Almania, can you please answer? Okay, that's correct. He interacts to his employers with manners and clear information. And how about for number 2, Mr. Ramos? Okay, It's also correct. She forced someone to enable to achieve a particular goal. How about you, Miss Corpus, for number 3? Okay, that's also correct. They communicate their ideas and feeling toward a certain situation. And for the last number, Mr. Legaspi. Okay, thank you. They generally define the fact in something. Okay, class, I think you had a clue about our topic for today, so very good. So I have here 5 photos that indicate the different situation, and let's try to analyze. So for the first question, how do you interpret the 5 picture? Yes, Mr. Ramos. Okay, that's correct. Like what Mr. Ramos said, the first picture indicates the control by giving regulation to the employees. The second is social situation by connecting others and have fun. The third is information dissemination by giving precise information to others. And the fourth is motivation by giving an advice to someone that needs an attention. And last is emotional expression or to express what they really feel. How about you, Miss Reyes? Can you please answer for number 2? Okay, very good. Question is how do you apply in this in interaction to others? So that's correct by respecting and changing some ideas and opinion. So for the next question, why do we need to learn how to communicate? Okay, Mr. De Leon. Okay, that's correct. We all know that all of us are communicating, but not all of us is confident. So we need to enhance our communicating skills to have better communication. So let's proceed. In this picture, how does communication affect the social situation, control, emotional expression, motivation, and information dissemination? Okay, Miss Abarca, can you please answer? Okay, that's correct. The reason that affect the communication is the misunderstanding and misinformation that cause to destroy our social situation, control, emotional expression, motivation, and even information dissemination. So, after trying to find out the example of function of communication, let's focus on our main lesson, which is the function of communication. So, can you please read Miss Ramos? Okay, thank you. So, as you can see, function of communication, basically, there are 5 functions of communication. These are control, social interaction, motivation, emotional expression, and information dissemination. For number 1, this is control. Communication function to control behavior, or it is able to use language, gesture to individual or group activity. Or ang main function ng control is to telling someone kung ano ang dapat gawin. Like for example, a parents telling to their children to walk on pedestrian lane and avoid jaywalking. And the next is social interaction. Communication allows individual to interact with their or in other words, ito yung casual na pakikipag-ugnayan sa iba, not only to gather information but also to have fun. Like for example, family and friend reunion. The next is motivation. Communication motivates or encourage people to live better, or it is a way to find how to increase someone's motivation that also allows to change behavior. Like for example, the managers need to motivate their employees daily in order to get the best result. And emotional expression. Communication facilitates people expression of their feelings and emotion. Or the main function is to express the actual feeling of a person. Like for example, the girl is crying because her toys are broken. And for the last is information dissemination. Communication function to convey information. From its word dissemination, in this field of communication, function is to broadcast a message to the public without direct feedback from the audience. Like for example, um, like for example, announcement and speeches na kung saan they give informative information to the people for them to gather precise information about the certain things. Did you understand, class? So, who can give me the five function of communication? Yes, Miss Reyes. Okay, thank you. Very good. And that's are the five functions of communication: the control, emotional expression, social interaction, information dissemination, and emotion. So I suggest to get one for the sheet of paper and answer the following question. Identify what function of communication used in the sentence. So I give you 5 minutes to answer and I dictate the correct answer if it is done. So let's assume that the students are done. So for number one, who can answer? Yes, Mr. De Leon. Okay, for number one, it is control, correct. And for number two, Miss Abarca, it's also correct. Social interaction, because they socialize in a purpose and other. So for number three, Miss Reyes. Okay, correct. It is motivation to encourage someone. And for number four, Miss Latigay. Okay, that's also correct. Emotional expression or expressing their feeling by using different emotion. And for the last number, Mr. Legaspi. Okay, that's also correct. Very good. Information dissemination or the idea that needs to be done with precise information. So, after answering the five question, build four groups with 10 members and pull out the small paper in the box that indicate who's the first, second, third, and fourth group and read the direction provided in each group. So here is the rubrics for the group activity. So let's assume that the group activity are done. So after answering the group activity, I have here three questions to answer. So I give 3 minutes to answer the following question. So let's assume that the student is finished. So please exchange your paper with your seatmates and write corrected by. And for number one, the answer should be letter A. For number two, letter C. And for the last number, number three, letter D. So after that, please pass your paper. So class, do you have any clarification about our lesson? And if none, that's all for today. Thank you for cooperation and to your listening. I hope you understand the five functions of communication. So, class dismissed.
Tapos na po.